Welcome back to the Metrodome in Yorkshire. Long way to go, but Europe 2 points up at the moment. Team Europe winning that team game, and then Martin Larson, who's got so much experience here in Barnsley, won the individual match against the debutant Parker Bone III. But the best is yet to come, I'm sure. A long way to go. Let's head off for match 3. Dominic Barrett, Europe's team captain, up against Wes Malott. And your commentators, Cass Edwards and Simon Golding.
Thanks, Tony. 2 up. It's a dream start for Europe. But can they keep it going? It's all about this next match. And if Dominic Barrett can put away the big man, the big nasty from Texas, Wes Malott, then I think we can believe that this is a dream start for Europe. But Wes Malott, 38 years of age now. He bowls 300 games for fun. He's got a whole load of PBA titles. Had a little bit of a stumble in his career with injury and a change of equipment a few years ago. But he's come back from that very, very strongly. And the amount of power, Cass Edwards, that he has, he can control this single lane format quite easily.
Oh, very much so, Simon. Yes, he was the top player last year. A lot of movement from the right-hand side of the lane. Just leaves that 10-pin standing in the corner. This is the 3rd game played on this lane since it's been dressed. So we call that playing on the burn. And Big Wes has opened up with a spare to start.
No dramas yet. Well, the European captain, Dominic Barrett, knows that this is an important game. This gives Europe the opportunity to really stamp their mark on Weber Cup 16 and to give them that little bit of a cushion to work with. And he needs to add another perfect game to that 13 if he's going to get that job done now. Very, very nice start from the European captain. He's taken his job very seriously this year, got himself organised, got the team organised. At the moment, it's paying dividends.
Yeah, he's also been in some great form as well. He retained a title back in July in San Marino. Also shot a 300 game down in the Philippines in the latter part of this year. So he really is in form.
A lot. Just makes an adjustment. Takes the ball out a little wider. That's the only problem for Wes Malott, is that he can sometimes run out of lane on this single lane format.
He certainly gets quite wide and gets so much rotation on the ball as well.
Good looking shot though.
I was going to say that doesn't always help. Sometimes a little bit less turns out to be better. Less is more on occasion.
We've seen that over the years, not just here at the Weber Cup, but the PBA as well. Certain oil patterns suit certain styles of play. The 2 men that can really move the ball across this lane and back into the pocket. Well, that flat 10, unfortunately from Dom. So back to a close game again.
Didn't look too much wrong with this, did there? Just a fraction light in the pocket, and the 6 bounces round that 10. This gives him the opportunity to make a spare. Former PBA world champion is Dom Barrett from a few years ago. The 2 English guys playing out on the PBA Tour in the States.
A group of European bowlers that went over there and really took it to the Americans for a time, alongside the Australian 2-hander Jason Belmonte. Oscar Palermo, who's playing in this European team. Probably the 2 players that really caused the most shockwaves out in the States, and others have followed very successfully. Now, Malott. He's got his line, he likes it. And looks like he's just got that ball on a remote control, doesn't he, as he hits the dry patch.
Certainly hit very hard there, and I think he had a 4-pin was standing for a fraction of a second, which was kind of unusual, and there it was. Enough pin action in the deck to make 2 strikes in a row, and a big grin from the big nasty.
He's a real character, is Wes Malott, big man. Stands about 6'5", joined us in the commentary box last year. Me and Cass had to leave, unfortunately, because there wasn't room.
I was going to say, yeah, he only just got in the box, didn't he?
Bless him. Now Barrett looking to repair some of the early damage. I'm afraid that one cut up on him, went through the head pin, and that means you're not going to get the reaction you're after And then it's in the lap of the gods. Which pins do you leave? Is it still a makeable spare?
An overreaction on this drying lane, high through the headpin, leaves the 4-pin and the 9-pin. Now this is a makeable split. He can hit the 4-pin on the, very, very lightly on the left-hand side, and it will bounce across. But it's a 10-to-1 shot. Well, he gave it a shot and unfortunately missed both pins, but it wasn't a bad-looking try.
So the baby split bites the blues. I'm afraid it's Barrett, the European captain, that has thrown it. So Malott working a double as he steps back up again, and what he'll do here, just make his opponent just wait a little bit, think about that last shot, and then try and throw 3 in a row for Turkey. There's the scimitar pattern, that's what we're bowling on.
Yeah, just looking at that volume,
another
Simon, 24 millilitres of oil are on this lane now. How much is that? Well, if you have a gin and tonic, it's the gin is about the equivalent.
It's very kind of you.
And that oil is pushed not only down the lane, but also tapers sideways, left and right. It's about the thickness of a piece of paper or human hair. And that's how much oil there is on the lane. But now we're on the third game. Some of that oil has been picked up by the bowling balls. It's been moved around. We've got television lights on here, so some of it's evaporating. There's all sorts of adjustments necessary from the players, trying to keep their line into that pocket.
Yeah, if you imagine a putt in golf, at least you can see the lay of the land. You can understand which way the ball will move. Well, these guys have to work it out. And something that is invisible. And that is brilliantly worked out by Dom Barrett. Back in the pocket, back in the strikes, and he's back in this game.
Yes, it's the ball reaction that they get in the back end, which tells them whether they're playing the right area of the lane, how fast possibly to throw it, or to come back on some of that speed. And it's an invisible blanket of oil that they can't see. As I say, it's the ball reaction that tells them where the oil is or isn't, and the adjustments come accordingly.
Malott, he won't be phased. He'll just trying to put the doubles and maybe the triples together.
And you can see where Wes is standing on the approach. He's way left on the approach, angling that ball into the lane, throwing it to the right, and getting a lot of reaction from the outside boards, the boards 1 to 5, where there is a little bit less oil because it tapers away, as I said, and it goes from the middle of the lane to the outside.
And if you watch Dom Barrett, he's not as far over as Malott. A little bit more towards the centre. And that's a problem again for Barrett. He'll take what he's got left, because that could have been worse.
That could have been a lot worse. If you see here on the slow motion replay, there's a 4-pin standing because of a high hit, and there's a 9 and a 10-pin standing there for a moment. What a horrendous split that would have been. But he's fortunate, just a single pin, should be a spare, and only just is. How about that? But it counts.
Squeaky bum time for Dom Barrett. Just shaves it. But Malott now holds the cards. What can the Texan do here? He's looking for a double. That again just keeps the pressure on. We've seen a fair few thousand frames over the years, Cass, and you'd have to say from this point on, it looks like first point in the bank for Team USA.
You can't see Wes Malott giving anything up to Dom Barrett.
Keeps ringing that 10.
Certainly is, yeah.
That was his problem last year, wasn't it, Cass? He left a lot of 10s, and that was really the only thing that stood in the way of probably one of the best performances ever at a Weber Cup.
It's the angle he's getting on the ball going into the pins. The 3-pin is pushing the 4-pin sideways, and it's just laying in the gutter. It's not bouncing off and getting that 10-pin.
Yes, generally speaking, if you're over the angle, so going in a little bit sideways, then you've got a chance of leaving the corners. If you go through a little straighter, you're going to leave something in the middle. And at the moment, Wes Malott left with a potential maximum of 249 against Barrett's 236. So what Barrett needs here, absolute minimum, is a double. to at least ask some questions, and he's not going to get it. It's another baby split, and it's another shocker to try and hit.
Well, yeah, this ball's hurried on a little bit, isn't it? Just hasn't picked up in the back end. Very light on the head pin. It was the 2 and the 10. Fortunate to kick that 8 pin out as well. And this is a makeable spare. If he can hit this pin as thin as the last one was.
No.
He would have spared it.
Well, he was going for it.
Gave it a shot, and unfortunately it was an open frame.
You saw it on that last ball from Barrett, all that side rotation in the end, when it came through the oil, turned into almost topspin and took it through the deck. Now look at Wes. It's all about getting the job done.
He knows he's got a 30-odd pin lead. He's not going to give anything away, and there may not be enough time for Dom to try and get anything back.
Well, after last year's finish, I think we all needed a year to get over the drama of that last game win for Europe. And I think Wes Malott as well. He said in his interview he's needed a year just to get his head round it.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate that the last Baker game last year went to the 9th frame before Team USA captain Chris Barnes had a big open frame. And Dom Barrett stepped up and shot the strike in the 10th frame to win the Weber Cup for the 2nd year running for Team Europe.
Poor old Chris has had a little bit of kryptonite getting in his way. Superman, as he's known. Herniated disc in L4 and L5. He's just had that operated on, so pretty confident we'll see him back again next year. And another new captain, Dom Barrett. Into the pocket nicely. Now then, this is still on. This is still a possibility for Dom Barrett.
Notice the change of ball, Simon.
Yeah, good call, Cass.
Snaps it right back into the pocket, carried all 10. Trusted it to the outside lane. Trust is a must, or your game's a bust. And Wes has just been doing some, what we call a bit of gardening with his bowling ball. I think he's put some tape in one of the finger holes, just to look for a little bit of reaction. He's getting maybe too much reaction on the outside. Still way left on that approach.
Some ball for Malott, and that's what he's concerned about. He just tried to take a little bit off that. But it's that control of not just the rotation on the ball, but the speed. And that means that your entry point into the pocket is going to vary.
Very fortunate to kick that 10 pin out there. 2-8-10 split, normally an open frame. He's got the sleeper here, which is 1 pin right behind the other. The 2 and the 8.
That's a big sleeper, isn't it?
He's got to cover that back pin. Lots of players would straighten their shot out a little bit, but I don't know as Wes will. You just have to wait and see, but he's got to cover that back pin. Tricky little spare.
Very silent here in Barnsley. This is the big one, and he's got it. He's got it. And Malott knows that the point is still there for the taking. Again, that little stick on the approach. You'll see that a bit from Wes Malott. Does tend to have a problem with that lead foot. 226 plays 212. That's if both men strike it off the card from here. Now, a double for Barrett puts a bit of pressure on the big nasty, I think.
Certainly gets him back in the match.
Sticking with the bronze beast, the ball change. Oh dear, but this time straight through the head pin, and it's going to be tough now for Barrett to recover from this.
Yeah, leaves the 3-6 to the 10. Very much an overreaction there as the ball came off the corner of the oil pattern. You can't quite understand that, but it is the 3rd game that's been played on this lane without being dressed. It makes the spare nicely, but spares are not what Dom Barrett needs.
Disconsolate Dom Barrett really did want to come out and impose not just himself but Team Europe on this Weber Cup. It's drifting.
Yeah, 34 pins Wes has in his back pocket. A strike here in the foundation frame will do him a power of good.
Gets back nicely. Down they go. And Malott back in the strike zone.
Yeah, another great looking shot. He gets the strike just when he wants it in the 9th frame. Tap on the 10 pin there. And counts
Sticking with that ball. And just took a little shuffle there to the left-hand side of the lane as he's standing on it. Gave himself a bit of room to let that ball work, but unfortunately, a little too late, I think. Needs Malott to really mess up here.
Well, he's got a 34-pin lead going into the 10th frame, working on a strike. He's spare or strike, and he's through the 200 barrier. Once again.
Doesn't quite close it.
Lucky to kick that 10-pin out. Leaves the 2 and the 8 yet again. And it just makes the hairpin. And look, that 10-pin is the last one to go. If that had stood up, that would have been a huge open frame, and Dom Barrett could have stepped up and possibly gone through the door and taken this game away.
Score drops to 206. He's buried this spare once. Buries it again. Comes in on a very nice line. No worries, says Wes to the European fans.
First point for the USA. Earns himself the bonus ball in the 10th, having made a spare.
It's not in the style that he would have wanted to make it. And once again, this very sporting Barnsley crowd getting on the players' side. To be honest, they're always looking for a trick shot when the game's over in these last few frames, but the players tend to keep it pretty straight these days. There's an opportunity to just test a different line or maybe try a different ball out. But it's
Well, Simon,
all
this
done.
is the sort of this is the sort of thing they have to do. They have to be looking to change balls, angles, speeds all the time. There's so many parts of this game that people don't realise have got to be done all the time. You've really got to be versatile.
Barrett staying left. That ball is now working for him. How frustrating will that be, Cass?
Well, that's right, yes. Unfortunately, two open frames, 2 big splits have cost Dom this game. 205 for Wes Malott. It's not the highest game in the world. He averages 224 in the United States on the tour. And has done for the whole of the season. And likewise, Dom is 226. This is American average.
Well, a groan from the crowd. I'm sure that reflects just how Dom Barrett is feeling. Both men just chatting away there in the background. These guys know each other very well away from the lane, but don't be fooled. They are desperate to win Weber Cup 16. And Dominic Barrett, the European captain, despondent. That's not the start that he was looking for in the singles. And Wes Malott remains a bit of a talisman for this US team. It's another good performance from him, and sometimes not much is just enough. And the big nasty puts the first point on the board for the USA. More to come after the break.